Hello, everyone, and welcome to another IATEFL Live. We're back again after a bit of a summer break. I'm Sean Wilden, one of the trustees of IATEFL, and if you come to the live streams often, you'll know I'm one of the hosts of those. And today we're reconvening, getting ourselves ready for the Harrogate conference, and we're going to be talking about proposals. But before I do that, what I want to do first, if you do join us regularly, you'll know that the last time we met, we were talking about scholarships. So I want to say a big congratulations to all the scholarship winners, all those people that obviously joined in the live stream, learned how to put in a scholarship proposal, and it's paid off. So congratulations to all the people you see on screen now. You are the 2023 scholarship winners, and we'll look forward to meeting you in Harrogate. So well done, you. So let's move on and continue to talk about Harrogate. Obviously, Harrogate is the venue for our conference in 2023, and today we're going to be talking about how you put in a proposal for conference. If you've never done it before and you want some advice, this is the live stream for you. If you have done it before and you want to share some advice, or you want to have any questions because of the process, then obviously this is also the live stream for you. And it's not me that's going to be doing this. I've got two guests, so let's add them. First of all, we've got someone you all have probably seen before, Lindsay Clanfield. Welcome to the stream. And hello. Joining us from a head office, the person who has the hard job of putting the conference program together, is Sarah Ward. So, Lindsay, how are you today?
Fine, thanks. How are you, Sean? Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Needs to meet you, the virtual meet
virtual
with it. And if you're not sure about Lindsay, apart from all the myriad of things he does, he has been involved with IATEFL as a volunteer in various things for many years. In fact, I would say our friendship, Lindsay, has always come around because of IATEFL. Lindsay and I share many interests together and spend a lot of time on Zoom talking to each other. But it's because of IATEFL. We first worked together on a podcast, and now look at us with 6 years of podcasting in. So apart from podcasting together through IATEFL, you've spoken for many years. You're a former ambassador. You're a former plenary speaker. So quite a lot of IATEFL experience.
Yeah, I've been a sort of a regular haunting the IATEFL conference for a little over 15 years, probably, maybe a bit longer than that. I'm not sure yet.
15 years of proposals. Well, I guess 14 years of proposals, because as the plenary speaker, you didn't have to propose your talk.
No, it's the abstract, which took ages. So lots of proposals, lots of experience doing that. I've also worked on the sort of how-to strand before, like or mentored people. I think I've done mentoring of people for shepherding other people into proposals and speaking. And of course, I always recommend to any teacher that's interested, if they get a chance to speak at IATEFL, it's a worthwhile thing to do. Even to attend IATEFL is worthwhile.
Well, attending is worthwhile. Speaking is, I remember being so nervous the first time I ever spoke to IATEFL, but definitely a worthwhile thing to do. And our other guest then, Sarah. Hi, Sarah. I'm introduced you as the conference programmer. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm the conference program coordinator. I've been in this role for about a year now, but I've been with IATEFL for almost 6 years, working in the conference. That's kind of that's why I'm here now. So I'm the conference program coordinator.
I go on. Tell people that don't. I mean, I know you because we chat and that all the time. But what is the conference program organizer for those people watching the live stream?
So my job involves primarily speakers. So right from this early stages of people submitting proposals, answering questions about that, supporting people through that, doing all the admin for that, processing them, sending them off to reading panels. The proposals committee will then read the proposals and make decisions, and then I'm the one getting back in touch with speakers to let them know results and when they are, answering questions. And then I also work putting together the actual physical conference program, all the design work in that. So it's a little bit of kind of the background, making sure there is speakers to present, and then presenting that information to the delegates.
Yeah, it's like you say, making sure there are speakers to present. I mean, it's not like there are one or two speakers here, is it? There are a fair few you've got to get into that program. I mean, what we said, average program 3, 4, 500 people, depending on how many.
It's around 500 sessions, but once you add in forums and joint presenters and panel discussions, you end up with about 600 or so speakers that I'm liaising with throughout the year to make sure they all get to the conference and do their sessions
and get everything and make sure everything goes as smoothly as possible. A big hello to those of you who are watching. I can see Huma, Alison, Najib, Roger, Christelle. Well, hello Bangladesh. Hi Indonesia. Hi Brazil. Hi Cameroon. Very global audience. So Lindsay, you said 15 years ago. Can you remember what you first proposed to talk on?
One of my one of my first ones was in Liverpool. I just remember being in Liverpool. It was the first time I'd been to Liverpool. I remember my first proposal. I think it was on lessons from nothing or some like minimal resources or something like that I was doing. And what was curious about it is that was the title or something, lessons from nothing or lessons from your pocket or something like that with minimal resources. And it was one of the first times I ever did it with a PowerPoint. And so, which elicited some chuckles in the audience, sort of lessons from nothing with a PowerPoint.
With a PowerPoint.
It was still quite like new. So there was already a little bit of a contradiction there. But yes, I think that was my first, or if it wasn't the first, it was among the first.
Fair enough. And your last word, you spoke in Belfast? I can't remember now.
Yes, that was on live online teaching. So different aspects of the video conference room tool, whatever, and
tell me
what we've been doing for the past few years. Some more than others, but Zoom, the trials and tribulations of Zoom.
Fair enough. And of course, your plenary was on. It was just before COVID. Was the conference before COVID, wasn't it? In those times when we now mark life by COVID on the timeline of life. So we are going to talk. Hydram has asked the question, which I think actually sums up the whole of part of this live stream anyway. So what do you need in a proposal for it to be successful? That's quite an important question. Lindsay, before I ask Sarah some of that, what would you say makes a good proposal? I mean, you've written many. What would you say?
Well, so for an IATEFL, there are kind of two audiences you're going for. So first you want to get the proposal accepted. So I suppose you have one eye on, is it going to you want to read the guidelines of what they're looking for. They'll have lots of helpful notes in the guidelines of like what they're looking for. But also think of yourself as a conference goer, looking through a program. What kind of thing would attract your mind? Sort of skimming through a program, because you'll read those abstracts, those 50 or 60 words. What kind of thing will attract your attention? So part of a good proposal might be like the opening sentence of an abstract, a good title, an original idea, or an interesting take on an old idea. Or if you've done some really interesting research, something that kind of captures that quite succinctly. Yeah. So I think a good proposal is one. Mind you, I'm not talking about this talk itself. I'm just talking about the proposal. So, and I'm including here the abstract in the title, something that grabs someone's attention, something that you yourself would see and think, "Oh, that looks interesting. I'd like to see that." And that probably. Doesn't always have to bring something brand new to the field, but that feels sort of new or that hasn't been necessarily done to death, I suppose.
I think I actually find writing. I'm quite glad that I don't have time to speak at IATEFL anymore because of all the live streaming and stuff we do there. Because I find it actually quite stressful writing the proposal and getting out, which I'm sure we'll talk about. There's some key vocabulary coming from here that people who've never put in a conference proposal might not understand. That we've got title, we've got abstract, we've got proposal, and I think another word we need to throw in is probably summary with that, isn't it? So Sarah, what's the difference what do these words mean in terms of something here? If somebody is putting an abstract in, how does that differ from a summary?
Okay, so your proposal, the main part of your proposal will be a title, an abstract, and a summary. So the title is maximum of 10 words, which it's short and sweet, snappy, will initially attract someone to your session. They'll skim through the program and they'll see the title, and they'll, if they're interested in that, then they'll go on to read the abstract. That's, as Lindsay said, a 50 to 60 word summary that's printed in the program, also available online, that people can read and see if the title attracted them. I want more information. This is what they're going to base whether or not they're going to come to your session on. The summary is a 200 to 250 word section, which goes just to the proposals committee. It's not going to be read by any of the delegates. And it just gives them a better idea of what you plan to do within your allotted time. So if you're, for example, submitting for a workshop, it's really important in your summary that you go through the activities that you want your audience to participate in. So, and if you're doing a talk, it's going to go through the topics that you're going to cover, the questions that you might answer, so they get an idea of how that abstract is going to work kind of in a practical sense. It's really important this is a common mistake, to not repeat your abstract in the summary. If you do that, we take the abstract out and you'll find that you probably won't meet the word requirement for the summary. It needs to be two separate things, the abstract and the summary, but they're kind of for two audiences, as we've been saying, one for the delegates and then one for the proposals committee.
Lindsay, do you when you're doing it, do you write the summary and then the abstract, or then the abstract and the summary?
Yeah.
I was asking Lindsay. Sorry, Sarah. I was just wondering because I always write the summary first, I think, because then I know what my abstract's going to be. I think if I go for the abstract, I tend to do that repetition thing with it. But I just wondered if it was just me.
I've done it both ways, so I'm not really sure. The one thing that I would add at this point is, whichever way you do it, make sure you also keep that in a document somewhere else on your computer, because when you submit it to IATEFL, it goes into the system. But you're going to be doing this in September, and you're going to be talking in whatever, April, months later. And as it happened to more than one speaker who lost their summary and their abstract, and then they're like, I can't remember what I said in the summary that I was going to talk about, because things may change. And I think I'll talk about this a bit later, how things may change from your initial idea of your talk, as often you write all of this before you've actually ever given the talk. And you think, oh, I'll just prepare the talk the month before. And then the month comes and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't remember.
Yeah, it's kind of like, because we're going to, obviously you get the proposal before September. It'll be around December time by the time that they're accepted, and then of course you'll probably wait until March time before you write the talk. And it is that opening up the document and going, is that what I said I was going to talk about?
Yeah.
We've got a number of questions coming into the box, which I will try and get into there. There is a question, I don't know if Sarah or Lindsay want to answer this. Somebody, Huma says, I've written a few proposals and presented at a few conferences. What makes an IATEFL proposal different? Stop, go on, Lindsay.
Well, I think it depends. When you say you've done a few conferences, if they've just been your local conference, you probably have a very good idea of what your local audience is like and what they want. Here, you're hitting a much more international audience. So it may mean not necessarily taking certain things for granted in the abstract, sort of like, so language, like everybody knows that this kind of class or whatever, whereas where that kind of thing for maybe a conference where I know who the people are and I can very much identify their context, I can speak to them through the abstract in that way. Whereas I'm a bit more careful when I'm speaking to the delegates at IATEFL, because they will be from many different kinds of situation. That could be private language schools, public institutions. It could be teaching children, could be teaching else. I know that within, Sarah, that within it, you're going to select your audience. But even within that, there may be some sort of crossover. And so that would be one thing. It's a sort of think of the audience as being quite a bit broader. I don't know. If
Yeah, I mean that's the thing to always remember at the IATEFL conference, isn't it? The main conference is a melting pot of every possible strand of ELT within it, whereas your local conference is often particularly at a one area or one sector of education. So appealing globally is.
And I think it also applies to even some of the language or the jargon that we use. I think one of the things I noticed, not from mine, but also reading other abstracts when I've been at IATEFL, even from people who I respect immensely in the field, someone like David Crystal or someone like Michael Hoey or Diane Larson. Sometimes their abstracts, they'll mention a term which I think, well, everybody should know this, but they'll define it. They'll say, for example, deixis is da, 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 or whatever, or something, because in a way they're not sure. It's not like all going to be applied linguists. There'll be some teachers, there'll be some people at very high level, other people. So I think not taking for granted that the terminology will all be common, so I think that's another thing to bear in mind.
And I think, Sarah, one other thing to bear in mind here is that the people don't realize is we talked about how many people speak at conference, but that's only a part of the amount of people that apply to be at conference or put a proposal in, isn't it? You mentioned the reading committee before. I'm not, and again, just so people understand that once the proposals are in, it's not a guarantee. Everything is read and chosen, isn't it? So.
Yeah, everything will be read and selected, and then in early December, the results will go out, and it'll either be a firm yes, a firm no, or somewhere in between a rewrite. We might say, okay, we're interested in this, but could you just make it a bit clearer? One thing that often happens, and it links to what Lindsay's just said, is we talk sometimes about the takeaway for the audience. If you write something that's really specific to your context, the proposals committee need to know that if someone turning up from the other side of the world turns up to your session, there'll be something that they are able to learn that they can then take back to their situation and apply it to their context. And that's really important. I think that's where it's different to a local conference, as Lindsay says, because they're coming from all different areas of ELT, but so many different teaching environments and styles as well, that they need to be able to have this transferable knowledge to take away with them. And that's something that quite often comes up as one of the rewrite reasons.
So a rewrite, sorry, Lindsay. So a rewrite would be the proposal sounds interesting, but you want some, I guess, clarification on something before it finally is accepted. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, more or less. There's a lot of few reasons why it might be rewritten. It might be rewritten because it hasn't met the word limit, but we're interested in it and we'd like it to be featured. But there's no guarantee that once you've rewritten that you've then also got a slot.
I'm interested. I know Lindsay wants to come in, but just you said that there was the firm yes, the firm no, and then the ones with the on the fence ones, if we like. Is there anything we can take out of the firm no? What would get a person a no? Is there any advice from that we could take to people putting in a proposal this year? Is there things to avoid? I mean, apart from repeating your abstract, which I think you've already said.
Quite a lot. It's if it's not something that's new, if it's like as Lindsay said, it doesn't need to be completely brand new, but it needs to be something that hasn't just been said 1,000 times before. It needs to meet the requirements of the guidelines. So there's we put up a link in the comments there to the speaker information. You'll be able to find the guidelines there, and it's really important, I would say, to read those guidelines so carefully and then read them again, because it's sometimes really simple things like just not meeting a word limit, or your abstract's finished halfway through a sentence because you've gone over, but the form will cut you off halfway through that sentence. And we can't accept it because we don't know what you're talking about. And it might be a case that we ask you to rewrite and you can go on a reserve list. But you're better off just making sure you've got it right the first time.
Yeah.
because it's just knowledge work for everybody.
Lindsay, you wanted to? I cut you off. Were you?
No, I can't remember now.
Oh, sorry.
I'll jump in again if something else.
Next time you jump in, I won't cut you off.
Okay,
so easily then. A few things that come up. A few questions. So Melora asks, are there any tips about presenting research results? I guess that's in the proposal. I think one of the things that I always find in talks when I go watch research is try and bring the research alive a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I would totally agree with that, because that's one of those common things you hear at IATEFL when people are coming out of talks. The common, some people will say, I just don't want to see a talk where someone's just hunched over the lectern reading the results, and then kind of clicking to the next slide. And on this slide, I'll explain my methodology. And on this slide, I will go through the initial ones. And I don't have time to go through all of, you know what I mean? So because there's a certain way of conference presenting at some conferences which are very oriented towards research. But at IATEFL doesn't always go down that well unless you can spice it up a little bit, So just reading the results of your research. And if that sort of is detectable within the abstract or the proposal, also is a problem. So it doesn't mean that you don't present research. It just means you won't be presenting research, I think, in the same way you may present at a university seminar kind of thing.
Yeah, I think Melora goes on to say audience interaction is a start. Yes, I think that's important. But also this fits in actually into a difference in IATEFL between a talk and a workshop, which we'll go to Sarah on in a moment. And she talks about using down-to-earth language. And I think, again, if surmising from what Sarah's already told us about putting in a proposal, that clarity of language and making sure that the readers understand what the talk is about is important. And I think that's something to be careful of with research, which can be very specialized and have terms which might not be accessible to everyone. So I would say keep it down to earth with that. Sarah, we talk about talks and workshops at IATEFL. Do you want to tell the audience what that means, and when people are proposing a talk or a workshop, what the difference might be?
Yeah, so there's a few different types of session that we offer at IATEFL. So the two most common are talks and workshops. So a talk is a 30-minute slot that you get that will be a presentation. We expect you to be there with a PowerPoint, without PowerPoint, whatever you prefer, but presenting your ideas to the audience, allowing some time for questions and answers, either during or at the end. But it is kind of a one-way street almost with a talk. A workshop, you get 45 minutes, and the idea is that it allows more time for some practical things to happen in that session. There needs to be, if you're going to submit a workshop, you need to make it really clear what it is your audience is going to do during those 45 minutes. Don't just submit for a workshop because you want the extra 15 minutes to give your idea. Because what the proposals committee will do is see that and go, let's make that a talk. Anyway, you need to make sure that you have clearly stated in your summary what it is you're going to get it might be some group work, it might be just talking to the people around you about an idea, brainstorming something, it might be something practical, it depends on your topic, it depends. You don't have a huge amount of resources that may be available to you in the room at the time, other than a projector and a screen and maybe a flip chart. So it depends on your concept, but it needs to be something practical. There needs to be something that the audience are involved in a workshop. Just the other types of session, very briefly, panel discussion kind of does what it says on the tin, really. It's 4 or 5 people all talking on a similar topic. Forums are 3 people who have submitted separate proposals that are put together because they're all talking on a similar topic, and rather than getting a talk each, the 3 of them will talk across 2 talk slots. So they get about 75 minutes once you include the break time to kind of all talk about different ideas on this one topic. And you can self-select a forum, or it might be that the proposals committee will go, well, these 3 are actually really similar and they're all kind of looking at the same subject from different angles. So it might be interesting to put them all together in a room to talk. We have posters as well, which is a poster. Basically, you present your idea on a poster. That there is certain size restrictions and things, but there'll be the nice thing about a poster is that it's up for the duration of the conference, and then you can also have it on the conference website for the year afterwards in electronic form, and you'll get a 10-minute slot during a lunch break where people can come to your poster to see you and ask any questions they have about your poster. There's no kind of formal presentation as such involved with that. And then similar to that is our interactive language fair, or the ILF as it's sometimes called, because we like to abbreviate everything, IATEFL, which is you'll be in a room where there'll be kind of a dozen or so of you who will be similar to a poster idea, but without the poster, if you will. You're at a table, people can come and talk to you about your idea, about your topic, and you can kind of talk one-on-one with people rather than presenting a formal presentation, if you will. I think that's all of them.
So from a proposal point of view, I mean, the forums are something that are decided afterwards. You don't propose to be in a forum, do you?
You can propose.
Can you? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry, my apologies.
It's more common to be done afterwards. But you can propose to be in a forum if you've already got you and 2 other people you know that want to talk at IATEFL on a similar topic. That a forum might be the way to go for you.
But most likely people are going to be applying for a talk or proposing a talk or a workshop from it.
Yeah, they're the most common ones we have. Yeah.
Have you done both, Lindsay?
Yes. Yeah, I always got the feeling like I always kind of pigeonhole these things in different ways. Like I always look at the purpose of the plenary is either to motivate you, to kind of get you excited, or to wrap something up, or to really show you something new in the field. A talk is often, if I go to a talk, it's because I'll be studying that abstract quite closely, because it'll be something that I want to see or learn about or like know more, so I'll be expecting information. And a workshop, I expect to do something. I expect to talk to the person next to me. I expect to get out of my chair. I expect to hopefully not like dance or sort of close my eyes and have to fall back into someone's arms, but I expect to be doing something in a workshop. Back in the day, I would have expected to have bits of paper. Now, maybe doing something with my phone, but doing something would be what and with an idea that whatever I do in a workshop, I'd want to think when I come back to Spain, I can do this with my students.
Great. And the other thing I was thinking, and I think this applied as well, is that you can do a joint presentation, can't you? You can apply to, which actually is one of the hardest things I've done. I did it a few years ago at IATEFL, and I thought it would be easier, but it's actually quite challenging to do a joint talk with someone.
I've done joint presentations as well, and I agree it is challenging, but I really like it. If you've not done one, if you've done an IATEFL talk before and you're redoing one or doing another one, or if it's the first time, I think a joint presentation can be really fun, and it's also good for the audience because they have 2 voices. If you kind of set it up right, it really helps. The only problem is the time will feel like it's going twice as quick.
Yeah, and I did mine. I did mine years ago with Marissa when we used to do ELT chat, and both of us like to talk. So it's okay. The time disappeared very, very quickly. Okay, I think we've given lots of advice and lots of clarity, I think, so far. But let's turn specifically to Sarah. Can we nail down the process? Let's make it very clear now what people have to do and when they have to do it. Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, I just put this into 6 kind of steps, if you will. So prepare. We've talked about this already. Read the guidelines. There's a website there listed on the screen, and I know it's been posted in the comments already. And we can do that again, where you can access the speaker guidelines, and you can also access a webinar by Madeline DeVivier, who's our conference programmer, she's the one behind the scenes doing all the putting the sessions into the right slots and ultimately deciding who's in and who's not. And she there's some really helpful tips that she gives in there about reasons that people get rejected, reasons that people get accepted. So I'd really advise that you spend some time. It's not long, it's about half an hour, to watch that and read the guidelines, read them again, just make sure you understand them, make sure it is you know what you need to do. And then in a very practical sense, you need to have an account on the IATEFL website, and that is kind of step 1 of getting into the system. So you just go to the IATEFL website, www.iatefl.org, click login. If you've logged in before, log in. If you haven't, create a new account. It's free. It's not, you're not joining at that point. You just create an account to create your own IATEFL dashboard.
And just to interject, we really stress, because I think this is the question that comes about quite a lot when people say, I can't do X or Y, and it usually comes down to the fact that they haven't made an account. Whether you're a member or not, you need to make an account in order to access the dashboard, in order to do the next steps that Sarah's going to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. But step 2 is membership, because to submit a proposal, you do need to be a member of IATEFL. And you can see that on your dashboard. And you'll see the little graphic at the top there where it says membership info. That's what you'll see on your dashboard. It'll either tell you your expiry date if you're a current member, or there'll be a link there to join or renew if you're a past member. And that's kind of the first thing you need to do as soon as you're in your dashboard, is to join, make sure you are a member of IATEFL. Once you've received a payment for your membership, then your membership is activated and you're all good to go from there. Once you have a membership, you then need to create a conference booking. And that's also on your dashboard. You'll see an international conference box with the option to either book for the full conference or book for single days. You need to have a full conference booking. We like our speakers to come for the whole conference, not just turn up and present their ideas and then disappear away, but to come and engage with other speakers, go to other talks, other workshops, and really get involved. So book for the full conference. Don't click book for the single conference and then tick all the days, because the single day rate is more expensive that way than booking the full conference, and you'll pay about 3 times as much as if you were booking for the full conference. Just a tip there, that's a common mistake. You don't need to pay for your conference booking at this stage, though that comes later in December once the results are out. Make sure you have it there then. Once you have a membership and you have a conference booking in place, you'll be able to see the proposals box, and it will tell you that as you're a member and you have a booking, you can submit a proposal. You click on that and fill in the proposal form. There's not anything on the proposal form that wouldn't have been mentioned in the guidelines, but make sure you do follow it through really carefully, follow the instructions, do what it asks you to do. Make sure you don't, there are required fields, and it won't let you submit it if you've missed one of the required fields, but just check. You'll have the option to save a draft as well. So you can write it, save it as a draft, go away, come back the next day just with a fresh head, just to reread it, make sure you've not made any mistakes, make sure it's all clear before you click submit. At that point, you'll get an email with a confirmation that it's been submitted. If you haven't got that email, then we don't have your proposal. At that point, get in touch and we'll have a look to see where it's gone wrong. And hopefully the draft will be saved and you can just click submit again. That email will have a copy of what you submit, but as Lindsay said earlier, do save that somewhere. Don't let it get pushed down your inbox somewhere. So when you come to prepare a month before the event, you can't remember what you've told us you're going to speak on. It should be in the email. If you have any joint presenters with you, that's the point you then need to return to your dashboard, to the proposals box, and officially link them. You put in their name and their ID number. You'll see the ID number there is listed in that membership info box. The joint presenters do need to also have a membership and a booking as well. Once that's done, you wait for the results, which will be in early December. And I appreciate it's a lot of steps. There's a lot of kind of hurdles it probably feels like to jump through, and hoops to get through to get to that point. But as long as you do it all and you do it all in the right order, you should be okay. One thing I will say is to bear in mind is yes, you want to prepare, you want to plan, you want to make sure your proposal is as good as it can possibly be. Get your colleagues to read through it, or friends, family, anyone you can, just to proofread it. But please try not to, where possible, leave it to the last minute to submit. Just as an idea, about 50% of proposals we receive arrive in the last 48 hours before the deadline. So, and it's for the majority of people, that's not a problem. It works fine. But if you have a technical difficulty or you have a question, there's only so many of us at head office that can answer your emails. If you're emailing us half an hour before the deadline, you might not get an answer in time. Okay, so please do, at least because you can save it as a draft. You can do that and get all the information in there a couple of days beforehand, before you plan to press submit. So you're kind of ready, and all you've got to do is one more step. Just don't leave all of these kind of bits. Get your membership now, get your booking now, then you can write your proposal and you can submit it. But yeah, we've only so many people that could only answer so many emails in a 24-hour period. So please don't, if you can, leave it to the last minute.
And the last minute, with the important part here, the last minute is September the 21st, yeah?
Yes, and very importantly, it's 4:00 UK time on Wednesday, 21st of September.
Okay.
On our website, there is, you can see some key deadlines and key dates, and there is a link there where it says, this is the page you need. A little bit further down on that page, which you can't see because it's a screenshot, there's some key dates, and where it will say, like, I think it says 1600 UK time, and the UK time, there is a little link. If you click on that, it will take you to a website that tells you what time that is in your local time zone. So if you're not sure what time zone the UK currently is in, do just check that, because it is, we are strict about it. It's at 4:00.
4:00, no.
It will be turned off. You will not be able to submit. Make sure your proposal's there, all your joints are added, everything.
Yeah, use that, as Sarah says, use the link to check your time. Just remember that the UK is on British summertime and will be at the deadline. So deadline time, so we'll be an hour ahead of UTC GMT. So don't confuse that one, which is what people often do. Thank you for that, Sarah. So we can't say enough. September the 21st is the key date there to get that in. And as Sarah said, it's not something, don't leave it to the last minute, and it is something you can do in steps. And so you will have 21 days basically to go through those steps. I was just thinking the advice, there was a really nice piece of advice in there about getting your family and friends to read the proposal. I think that goes back to what Lindsay said earlier about making sure the proposal is accessible to people. Lindsay, come in.
Yeah,
please.
No, two things on that. First of all, echoing that point of getting other people to read it. Another thing is, even before doing that, trying to find other proposals, other abstracts that have been written in our field already. So if you can get a hand on a previous IATEFL conference program, just to read through those and look at the ones that you like and stuff, because there's often like a fixed sort of format that's often followed, like a kind of a text genre of the conference abstract. It kind of usually goes, there's a problem, maybe a question, and then it says, in this lively / practical / informative talk, I will, So you sort of set out what the issue is, how you're going to address it, and what the takeaways may be. There are different ways that authors have done that, and even sometimes playing with that genre. And so you can kind of get a lot of good ideas by really immersing yourself reading several of the other proposals. I'd also like to just add about the last minuteness of this. I'm so surprised, because aren't we all teachers, and none of us really like it when the students all throw their papers under the under the office door at like 2 minutes to midnight, or in the email at 1 a.m. So I'm sure that everyone will take that advice.
So what you're saying, Lindsay, is in the 15 years that you've been proposing, you have never left it to the wire.
I am not.
I will go to Madeline and Sarah in the proposals committee and do some research and find out if there's truth in that. Just to pick up a few questions on that, I think Deepak, we've answered a bit about being a non-member. You have to be a member to put a proposal in. It is a members' conference in that sense. So do put that in. Leandro and some other people asked about special themes or sub themes for 2023. No, not in the sense of talks and workshops. There are for the plenary speakers. They are chosen around themes amongst many criteria for why they're chosen, but no sub themes or special themes. I would have thought. I would say it's often what's current, isn't it? It's what people tend to be doing now. tends to take the floor in a lot of it. People that have submitted for scholarships and were successful, do they reapply? That was a question. Do they have to re-propose their talk, Sarah?
No, if you've won a scholarship and you submitted a proposal as part of that, you'll already have been told whether what your situation with your proposal is. That is accepted and you don't need to resubmit it. If you submitted a proposal as part of a scholarship application and that scholarship application was not successful, then you can still have your proposal considered, but it won't automatically be. You need to make sure that you have a membership and you have a booking, which you wouldn't have necessarily needed for that scholarship application. And then contact me, email me, sarah@iatefl.org, and tell me that you want your proposal taken forward. And I will do that for you. You won't be able to resubmit because the system will go, well, you've already submitted something. But it won't automatically be taken forward, particularly if you're not a member and you don't have a conference booking.
Okay, so if you've won a scholarship, fine, you're good. If you didn't win a scholarship and you put a proposal in, you now need to go back and do the process to alert you that you still want to be considered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been live for a while now. I think we've gotten through most of the questions. Lindsay, any advice you'd give to people proposing or submitting? I mean, you've given loads, but any?
No, I don't think. I mean, just to reiterate, make a proposal of something that also you would be interested in seeing yourself. I think a lot of the good proposals, you can almost feel the speaker's enthusiasm for their topic through the proposal. And those are the ones that I often get attracted to, because the person will be really interested in what they're going to talk about and what they're going to present, and I will learn something. So that would be my last bit of advice. Read lots of other proposals.
If I was to give a piece of advice, it would be what we were talking about before we went live, which is just about the word limit, and make, don't. I think you make a proposal, you make your own abstract, and it's above the word limit. But don't be afraid to use apostrophes, to contract a little bit. Don't use the passive voice. Those anything that simplifies the language at the end of the day. Because as Sarah's made it very clear, the word limit is important, and the words are important. If you don't say everything you need to in the word limit, you might get rejected. If you go over the word limit and you've only got a semi kind of title, you won't do it there. So don't be afraid to adjust your language to meet the word limit, would be the bit of advice I would give from there. And our behind the scenes person says yes, it's a good idea to get colleagues to read it and check the proposal as well. So there's lots of advice coming through. Sarah, anything we've forgotten?
I don't think so, but if anyone has any more questions at all, please do email me, sarah@iatefl.org, and I will do what I can to help. The earlier you ask your questions, the more help we are able to give you. So please just get in touch, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But yeah, just read the guidelines. That is my advice.
The advice is read the guidelines. And if you're watching this as a recording and you haven't joined us live, then do be aware that we will keep an eye on the comments. So if you can email Sarah, but you can also drop a comment in here still, and we will monitor them for the next few days to see if there's anything picked up. And if you have watched the recording and you haven't looked yet at the comments, a lot of what we've talked about is in the comments already. So you will find links to the guidelines and links to the Madeline session about a good proposal is already in the comment box. Just scroll down. I know there are quite a lot of comments in there, but you will find them in there if you are watching the recording. And please, I can't stress it. Sarah kind of underplayed it. The last few days before the proposal deadline are some of the most hectic times in head office. So please do, you will make your life easier by asking questions before, plenty of time before, and getting that deadline that proposal in plenty of time for the deadline. You have been warned. As simple as that. So thank you so much, Lindsay, for giving us your time and bringing some wonderful advice to the session. Thank you very much, Sarah, for joining us and making it very clear what we have to do. So now, your job, folks, you've got 21 days. Off you go. Get those proposals written. And I'll look forward to seeing you all in Harrogate to see what how those proposals turned into talks. Goodbye for now. and we'll see you again for another live stream soon.